In Leader Feeder, today we're going to look at how to resolve the conflict that can come with change and continuous improvement.
I think a 25-degree flange is going to work. So why don't you do this? Why don't you cut it at 25 degrees and then I'll make the change to the order and that shouldn't be a problem.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. Hey, did you give those guys permission to change the angles of their parts?
Yeah, Brandon had a problem with his lathe. All right, he couldn't make the angle. So I checked the specs. There's a 5-degree variance that we're allowed. And it was going to be 2 hours of overtime to retool his whole lathe. So I thought, we'll take that 5%, that 5 degrees, and we'll incorporate that into what we're doing and we'll save time.
Yeah, well, that 5%, that's going to leave a 2-millimeter gap at my end, and then we're going to have to retool the entire section to fit. You're looking at, 3 to 5 days downtime.
I hadn't thought about that.
When you introduce change into your work group, it will inevitably cause conflict. There'll be differences of opinion on the current situation, the future goal, and the best method or path to go from where you are now to where you need to be. This type of conflict is healthy because it engages your team in thinking about the best way to make improvements and helps you as the leader get more and better ideas. Let's look at 3 tips to manage conflict when implementing change and continuous improvement. Tip number 1, embrace uncertainty. Think back to some of the changes that you've implemented in the past. How many of them went according to the original game plan? Nearly none. The reality is that most change initiatives are going to be tweaked and adjusted as they roll out. Therefore, you as a leader shouldn't feel the need to convey absolute certainty or to hard sell your team on the change. Embrace uncertainty by acknowledging that the change will evolve and that it's natural and normal to have different opinions on what might work or not work. Tip number 2, involve your team. When team members feel that they've had an opportunity to contribute to a change, they'll be much less resistant. Even if all their ideas aren't included, they'll still feel that they've had a say. Changes that include input from end users will be perceived as being more practical and get greater buy-in. Tip number 3, encourage trial. There will be lots of different opinions on how to best roll out the change. Instead of trying to oversell one method over another, why not acknowledge that there's many different options and encourage trial, knowing that you'll be tweaking and adjusting the game plan as you move forward. Managing conflict with change is mostly about being flexible and not getting overly defensive as the leader. Many leading organizations bring us on site to deliver our leadership training programs, or they buy resources from us that they can use to make their supervisors, team leaders, and managers even more effective. And you can always join our community on various social media platforms.